we should be covering.
Yes. I like somebody said, and this is a direct comment that I got from one of the guys who said, well, Phil Scott is coming. I like the approach that he's taken. Can you ask him? Is he decided to say, let the people tell whatever story it is that they want to tell? Is that the angle that your channel is taking?
Yes, whatever's concerning for black people, Africans, Caribbeans, Afro-Latinos, whatever is concerning, that's what we want to talk about. We're not talking about what everybody else is saying. For instance, like right now in Kenya, one of the hot stories now is GMO foods.
Yes.
That's what we will focus on. And now since I've been here, I'm going to stick to that story for a little while, because I know personally coming from America that GMO foods is not something you want in your country.
Yes.
Africans have been growing their food for thousands of years, feeding their families for thousands of years without the help of no type of European scientists altering the food, right? So I'm very against that due to the health aspect of what happens in America. Black people suffer the most with the health, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, etc. A lot of it is linked to the food. So anybody that's against GMO, I'm with you 100%, just for the health of the people.
Yes. It's not the very first time that you're in Kenya personally, Phil Scott.
No.
You were here back in 2019.
Yes, sir.
Could you tell me why you were here in 2019, and essentially then what brings you back in 2022?
Well, in 2019, we had partnered with a company called Worldviews, and we partnered with them to bring 30 black Americans that had never been to the African continent at all. We are miseducated heavily about the African continent. We are shown, things like National Geographic, where they show people in the village struggling, growing up, or we had Sally Struthers feed the children. Oh, look at the poor kids in Ethiopia. And believe it or not, my first country was Ethiopia.
Yes.
And when I got there, I was like, I can't believe they lied to me like this. And I got very angry the first time I went.
You actually got educated yourself?
Yes.
When you got to Ethiopia?
When I get to Ethiopia, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it? The media pictures that you...
They lied. And when someone's deceiving you and you find out the truth, you get angry. And I say, all these years, I was believing this, and I missed out on all of this, and telling me welcome home and just having a spiritual connection to the land, the whole continent itself. That's when I really say, you know what? We got to do something different here. And that's when I came back to America and started really focusing on, the whole diaspora at that point,
yes.
A little bit more, yes.
Mm-hmm. So now you have these 30 individuals who've never been to the African continent. When you look at them, I know you're walking around with them and you're introducing them to these areas that they've never been or they've never known actually do exist in Africa. Do you look at them and see yourself back when you went to Ethiopia?
Sure. And like I said, this is the second group, like I said, that's here to, this year.
Yes.
So total through our platform, we brought 60 people to the African continent. Mm-hmm. Great, because no other black platform, at least doing news, is doing it like that. And we're happy to do that. It's not to say that we're better than anybody, no. We're just glad to bring people to see, what I got to see, because it'll spark a interest in them, to do things here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you want to achieve what then by bringing them right here to the African continent? Is it to tell the African story the way it's supposed to be told?
Well, for me, I don't have to do nothing more than get you here. The spiritual connection and what they had missed when our ancestors was taken away about 500 years ago would do its own work. I just need to be the vehicle, or part of the vehicle, to get you here.
Yes.
The land and the spirit of the land does its own work. I don't need to do no more than that.
Pretty much. Now let's get to the gist of the conversation then. Is now when you're saying that you're now essentially in Kenya. And every time you tell somebody, well, I'm right there within your country, somebody's going to ask you, how do you want to tell our story? Make it perfect. Because indeed, if you're going to go to Africa, then these particular countries are going to start looking for their representation. Are you telling our story? How are you going to tell the Kenyan story now that you're in Kenya for the very second time, saying, I want to tell the African story or the Kenyan story?
Well, you got to bring people in that's from the country.
Yes.
First and foremost. But bring them in underneath, our particular system. The system we have doesn't change. Our formula works. It's just bringing them in and really covering the stories that the people care about. Because from what I've seen with our people all over the world, they don't really care about who's telling it. They just making sure you tell the story, tell it right. That's the two things they care about. Don't disrespect nobody. That's the three things they care about. They don't care if it's somebody from way across the world. They have told me, I have people tell me, Phil, could you cover this? I'm not of those particular countries, but look, how I look at it, it's no separation with black people with me. I don't get on all that, well, you're not my people, you're not my tribe. I don't get into that. Because when it comes to racism, white supremacy, they don't see me as a one this, and they see you as black. And that's how I think living in America, dealing with racism, white supremacy for 500 years. So that's my mindset coming in.
Yes. Direct question as well from one of our viewers who said, are we going to see the new work directly then with the Kenyan storytellers then to improve the content that we're going to see on your channel?
Well, so right now, we have a Kenyan editor now that edits for us.
Yes.
And we have Sister Wangel that's here. She lives here with her family. We'll be looking to add more people because we want to build a base here, and we'll be looking to Kenyans to do that.
Yes.
But anyone can tell the story of black people. If a Kenyan could talk about something in America, a Kenyan could talk about something in Latin America, we don't hold people back or what they can say or what they can't say, because I don't believe in stifling creativity of anybody. Regional things, great, and we want to listen to the people. You tell me what it is, we'll try to get it covered. But I'm not a Kenyan, but I would tell something that's going on in Kenya because that's important. We all, should tell the story of each other. Then that's really what my mission is. There's no separation here.
At this time, Phil, when we're talking about the growth of digital content as the content that drives conversations, you find yourself in a space where, whether you like it or not, Phil Scott, now somebody's going to compare you with BBC, compare you with CNN and Al Jazeera on that platform, because when you look at the following that you have digitally, it is one-on-one with whatever the other media companies that have been established in the group. I would like to call them old media. Is that something that makes you think of maybe doing it their way, if indeed somebody's going to look at you and say, well, I got to look at this particular news that you're doing and then compare with what the rest of them are doing?
I don't care what people compare me to. I mean, I compare myself to myself.
Yes.
And what they're doing is old and dead anyway. We are, what we say today, the new black media. And we focus on that, and that formula is working. The digital space has gotten rid of the gatekeepers who would keep great people out, like myself and many others. We don't have to deal with that anymore. We can just go straight to the people.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of the digital age. And so what I do is, BBC don't compare to me, CNN don't compare to me, because they're gatekeepers, they push in racism, white supremacy. We don't push that. We push the empowerment of black people, the empowerment of Africans, Caribbeans, Afro-Latinos. That's what we push. We push empowerment of our people. They don't push that.
Yes. This is a question as well. They say that we like what you're doing with the Africa Diaspora News channel, but then you're running on a platform which is essentially now getting opened up to heavy regulation on topics that you actually get to touch on. So it becomes very easy for maybe one or two stories that you may want really to get out there the right way, maybe to get killed or maybe to get so much complaints on it. And then you find at the end of the day, that story doesn't get to see the light of the day. Interesting question, Phil, and you got to be very careful on how to respond to this. As you grow, are we going to see your channel then go back to what these other old media stations have been doing, the old media, where indeed now you have the right and you have the permission, which is essentially sole permission from you, to run whatever story it is that you want without fearing any type of regulation, because you're running essentially on somebody's platform who's heavy on regulation as well?
Well, you won't see no change. And also, we have AfricanDiasporaNews.org, which is our website. So we can post whatever we want on our own website.
Yes.
That was the purpose of having our own website, not just having YouTube. Because, yes, every country has laws, rules, regulations. Fine. And we will follow those. But you can talk about 100 different things and have a different way of doing it where they won't even pick up on what you're saying, right? Yes. So we're not changing anything, because if we change anything, we might have to shut the lights down.
Pretty much. So somebody asked again, the consumption of news. You're now heavily on the African market, which might be a bit different, because essentially we're talking about the European market. I mean, digital content is the way to go now. But when you're coming out to Africa, are you going to adopt the same strategy that has worked for you in the European market? Or you're thinking about changing your approach then to make it the African way, so that the African market can also get to consume your news?
Well, the African market is consuming it now. And I have, like I say, one host. Like I said, right now, Wangel's LLM, she's here in Kenya.
Yes.
And a lot of, African people watch our content daily from all over. So our formula works. I'm not changing a thing. The way Europeans do things don't work for black people. So our model is going to come here and it's doing very well now. It's generating things now. Different videos that went viral on our channel, African stories, I view viral 1+ million, views. We've had several stories from the African, market that's done that based on our approach. And our approach is simple. We find what happens with black people. If it's any kind of racism or bigotry, we're definitely going to call that out. We're very aggressive about that,
yes.
Especially when people come into the African continent and being very racist. We have no tolerance to that. And we're very aggressive to the point where if you don't like Africans, carry your happy self back to your country where you come from, because you're not going to do what you do here. But then if you go to your country, you will let an African know real quick they can't do whatever they want to do in your country. So I have to say have the same respect. So we take that approach in everything that we do. You're going to respect Africans in their homeland. Africans need to control their own resources, their own destiny, without the help of any other, powers out here who's lying about the African continent. So that's what we focus on, at least here. And all the young people are in agreement with what I'm doing.
Yes.
So we don't have to change a thing.
As you grow bigger, and that we've seen that happen even for companies and products in the market, that as you grow bigger, quality becomes a question now, because with where you are right now, you have grown immensely, and with your prices in African market, we're going to expect again for you to continue growing exponentially as well.
Correct.
Is it going to be a challenge for you now to keep on churning out the quality content that your channel has been associated with, or you're going to put in structures to make sure that this doesn't change for you? And what are those structures, Phil, that you plan to put in place?
Well, we have to say quality is a big thing for me. It's a big thing. And if you can't have quality in the host, quality in the stories, what's very important for the people, then it's not going to last very long with me. I'll shut something down.
Yes.
I have the idea of the market controls everything. For instance, I could like you as a host all day long, but if the people don't like you and the people don't receive you, you're not going to stay with me very long, because it's what the people say, not what I say. And letting the people have more control on what's going on, and people having control over the stories. It's like the people asking you questions.
Yes.
I prefer to talk to the people and engage the people, because the people's the ones going to support your platform. The people's going to spread it out there versus these corporate entities putting somebody up there saying, I don't even like that guy. What is he even talking about? No. So nothing's going to change. Quality is a big thing for me, because we are already behind the 8 ball, because they believe, black people or African people, their service not as high quality as the white people. That's a lie. So quality is a big thing for me. If we're not going to have quality, once again, we're just not going to do it.
Yes. Somebody asked this question. Here's the thing. There are popular languages in this African markets that you're going, because I know now your channel is essentially heavily English.
Yes.
Now, coming to the to the African market, it means that you're going to expose yourself to a larger audience that might not essentially prefer English as a mode of communication, or the mode of relaying these stories to them. Are we going to see collaborations within these markets that you're targeting, essentially the heavy markets? We're going to see native languages being the conversation points of these stories.
That's something that we've thought about and been open to. But we got to first get the bread and butter first. And then once the bread and butter, we could have a channel in Swahili. It's no issue, no problem. We could, but it's going to stay the same model. You understand? If it's something in French, we can do an African diaspora, news channel in French, but it's going to stay the same model. The model's not going to change. Yeah. Languages is one thing, but the model is just, so for us, we got to build the infrastructure first. It's like that sort of thing is kind of like adding bells and whistles, but we got to get the highway built first. Then once we get the highway built first and all the lights and everything is great, then we can focus on extra things like languages and things like that. But we're definitely open to that.
Pretty much. The next question as well to you, Phil Scott. Somebody saying, it's interesting how you've made news consumable. Most people would run away from hard news, but you find a way to tell your stories in a way that I would sit and consume news. How have you been able to do that, Phil Scott? This is a direct question from one of our viewers as well.
Well, we just make sure that we just connecting with the people and it's not boring. My main way of doing news is not running off of a teleprompter. I don't know what I'm gonna say before I get on there. I mean, I do my research on what the story is, yes, but I don't like to look at a teleprompter because it kind of confines me. The team who's doing the news, yes. I don't tell them even what stories to make. Because a lot of mainstream, they'll tell you, hey, make this story, unless it's something we really need to target, which is rare. But I believe in allowing them to have their own creativity and their own voice. So we don't script anything, and it just comes from the heart, and that's what people connect with, is that.
Yes, and that's going to be the model throughout?
Yes, I don't tell people how to think. I don't want people around me that I got to control. Like you, because you may have an idea.
Yes.
That's something I'm not even thinking. So why would I stifle your creativity is making you a robot? I don't want robots around me. I want human beings who actually think for themselves. And I tell you what story you're going to cover. I want you to tell me what story you're going to cover. I'm not going to tell you. And if you can't come up with enough stories on your own that's interesting for the people, then once again, if the market, then which is the people, not feeling what you're doing, well, we're going to have to see how that works out. But for instance, everyone I have, they come up with their own stories. I do not tell them what to cover.
Yes, pretty much. Somebody will ask you, you're passionate about whatever it is that you're doing, and it comes from an area when you want to see change in the stories that you tell. Have you been able to track change in some of the bigger stories that you've covered on the channel?
Sure. I've had people, tell me they have, went to college because of some things we're saying. I've had some people say they came to the African continent. Some people have gotten involved in like healthcare. Some people have gotten government contracts. Some people have gotten married because they've heard, this with the importance of family. I've had a lot of definitely African people saying, they feel great to hear someone standing up because there's a great need here for people to have a voice and to be bold in what they're saying.
Yes.
And I love that. I had a journalism student out of 50 came right to me and started questioning me about things and even saying, hey, when I'm done, could I get a job? I said, see, I like people like you. I don't like people standing behind just kind of quiet and smiling. No, we need people that's aggressive, bold, because everything that's coming against us is aggressive and bold. So either it's one of those things, either you get down in the fight or you're going to lay down. And we can, and black people globally sometimes been laying down too much for me.
Yes.
And in Black America, we had to fight. We're still fighting today. We didn't have a chance to lay down. Everything we have achieved has been because we have fought one of the greatest systems of white supremacy out there, and we're still fighting now. So we got to spread everywhere, and that's how we look at it.
With the growth model that you're adopting now, let's go into the African market and trying to spread our wings around that area. It's not going to be essentially running on the financing model that you have right now. Let's do a lot of stories, and then the channel that we're running the stories on is going to commercialize the stories, and then we're going to get paid at the end of the day. Are we going to see strategic collaborations now from your channel, from, let's say, like-minded organizations and people who like what you're doing to help you further penetrate the African market to the level that you may wish, Phil Scott?
Well, anybody that's going to partner with us, they got to understand our vision. I'm not changing what we're doing for any kind of funding, because I've had people reach out to me many times for funding. Well, if you don't do this, or maybe you're just a little too black, sorry, stay over there. I don't want you. I'd rather stick to what we have now because it works. Because what I've seen by not taking certain funding or turning certain people away, we have grown by 10 times by not doing that. So anybody that's going to partner with us, understand what you see is what you get. We're not changing for anything.
Not at all. But I'm going to get back on that funding question, because if we're going to talk about the sporadic growth and you being able to touch the stories that are really pertinent to the African continent, funding will be funding, as they say. But then you're still going to get the money and do the stories that you want to do. Do you think you're still going to keep on saying no to these people approaching you for this particular funding to help? It's going to be a collaboration, Phil. Would you know?
Well, the collaboration is this. You being put on a platform where people are seeing it, and then they could buy your product. That's a win-win. Any kind of advertising is a gamble. You can put up a billboard, don't mean people going to buy your product. But if you want to be put on a platform where the young people are at, where people are really having conversations, then you come on over here to African Diaspora News Channel. That's just really what it is. We're not going to change for anything. Period.
So conform first before you approach us. Know what we do before you approach us. Is that what you're saying?
Well, just my motto is this: the platform is the platform. It works very well. If you want to get in with us and you want to advertise and reach these young people, because we have a lot of Gen Xers, we have a lot of millennials, we have a lot of Gen Zs.
Yeah.
That's our target audience. If you want those people to look at your goods and services, then come over here with us. And the people will say, okay, it don't matter even what community you come from. They will see, especially if you're outside the black community, okay, this particular company actually okay with partnering with a news organization that's about black empowerment. I respect that. I'm actually going to buy that.
Yes.
Because we see that they want to be out there for the right thing. Because you have all these corporations say, oh, we for the right thing, and oh, we want to see about, diversity and equality. But when it comes to money, you're not really talking about diversity and equality unless they can control you. And of course, we're not going to say nothing reckless and illegal, unlawful. We're going to follow all the laws of the land, no matter where we come from. We're not going to do that. We're not reckless. Even in America, we're not reckless. We know what we can say and what we can't say. We understand that. Trust me, we understand it. But what we do works. And if you're a company that wants to partner with us, we're definitely open and welcome.
Your growth has been exponential. I mean, when we look at the numbers, Phil, they're unimaginable, and they keep on growing by the day. Did you see yourself morphing or growing into something bigger than just a news channel, where you're saying, well, our stories are focused. They're focused on the black story. They're focused on the African story. What can we do for impact? Because with growth then comes the question of, is that it? Do you see yourself 5 years from now, maybe growing into something different? Because you're very passionate then about this African story, about this impact, telling the story the way it is.
Well, if I'm thinking I know what you're saying, I would say this much. We have to corner the market on just black people throughout the world.
Yes.
Nobody has really done that. And how I look at it, we are the culture. Sometimes people ask, well, you're going to cross over to doing this and cross over to doing that. That's another question. And I always say to that, no. I'm not crossing over for anything. It's a lot of people throughout the world as black people. We don't even know who they are, exist. We don't know the cultures. We don't know the languages. We don't know the stories. We need to focus on us, because Europeans focus on themselves. Yeah, sure, they talk about other people, but they focus on themselves. And I have no problem, let's say down the line, if somebody come in, if they say they're an Indian person, if they're Asian person, if they are whoever, group, and they come in and they say, hey, we want to work, with you. Okay, that's fine. I'm not discriminatory. But this is the job. This is what we talk about. And if you're fine with it, hey, no problem.
Yes.
So that model, no, it's not going to change no time soon.
So you're going to stick to the same African news, the African story, and that will be that, isn't it? So let me get to know, because I know you're leaving Kenya on the 2nd of December. That's a couple of days within the country. You're walking around and talking to different people and really trying to see what the scope is in terms of the stories that you may want to focus on from the country. Other than that, what do you expect to get out of this country now before 2nd of December?
Well, it's not about what I expect to get out. It's about what I can give back. I'm not coming here to be a colonizer. That's not what I do.
Yes.
I come like, what can I give back? What could I learn from the people that I could bring back, to America, and say, hey, this is what our brothers and sisters dealing with. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to contribute. This is how we need to work together. It's not about me taking anything. I think too many have taken enough.
Yes.
What can we do to give back? And one thing I always say, especially to Black Americans, if you come back, create a business and hire the locals. That's one of the best ways you can give back, because of jobs, unemployment, et cetera.
Yes.
And make friends with people. It's all about, for me, giving back. It's not about taking.
Pretty much. Now, last question is a direct question as well. Can you ask Phil Scott how I can get to work with them directly, since it's in Kenya?
Interesting. Okay, so we have many different programs for that,
Yes.
and we also, I was just thinking about coming back eventually and doing even a job fair to bring people in who are serious about our growth here.
Yeah.
But we do have like a contributor program, and anybody can contribute. Of course, you just have to be ready, though. I mean, we can't just accept any old kind of video, any old kind of situation. The sound got to be right, etc.
Yes.
But we do have a contributor program. If they would like to, find out about that, they can email, our business manager at Kellen@ColemanPRFirm.com. Email him, and he will, guide you through that process. We are open to anybody, and contributors are paid. We have a model where we pay them. So no one does anything on our platform for free. I won't allow it. I think if someone does the work, you should pay them something, right? So yeah, that's just, if they want to get involved, they can do it that way. And contributors can eventually come to full-time hosts just based on how they perform.
Pretty much. Phil Scott, you have 15 seconds to respond to this question. Could you talk to me about your channel then? In the next 10 years, what do you envision?
Channel-wise, that's a good question. I'm thinking bigger than a channel. I'm thinking more so, our website being, way bigger than, what it is now. We want to focus on our website and also our different divisions. And we're going to open, like, for instance, our Kenyan division, growing that, and then open up other divisions in other African countries. Yes. Setting some up out in the Caribbean, Latin America. We just thinking about just getting different divisions everywhere because we want everybody to tell their story, right? And everybody to participate. Like the question was asked earlier, for instance, did someone say, well, hey, I haven't seen an Islamic person on yet. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a host like that, to come eventually. So we're looking to get everybody involved. And I probably eventually will start falling back myself, because if I can get 10 people or 20 people to talk like me, I'll just sit back and let you do it. I'm happy with that.
Fantastic, Phil Scott. Thank you very much for creating time to come to Lookuptv.
Well, thank you.
Fantastic. Now, if you want to learn more about that particular channel, of course you do know already about it, and that's why you were really talking to us this morning before he walked in. You don't know what to do. Rush there right now. Africa Diaspora News channel. Once you're there, you'll even know exactly where the website is, and you want to work with them. He said there's a process to follow. And then the thing about that is they created a market for news that was essentially considered to be for traditional media. How beautiful is that? Do you want me to give you the numbers? 1.35 million subscribers, growing by the day. And in terms of views, 500 million views plus, again, growing by the day. How huge is that? Talk about the African story really becoming the African story. Thank you very much for watching this. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kage. Have yourselves a lovely weekend. I'll see you Monday for more business conversations.
Really try this.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about kufurahisha the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni hapa kazi tu.
Already seen all of it from here, thanks to my wonderful long neck.
Welcome back to Look at Business. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaga. Let's then put that conversation into perspective. And before we jump into it, let me give you these numbers that 15% of Kenyans rely on an improved water sources. When I'm talking about an improved, we're talking about consumption directly from ponds, shallow wells and rivers, while 41% of Kenyans lack access to basic sanitation facilities. And this is according to water.org. Now let's bring this conversation back home then. Water.org now has joined forces with BECO to provide 10,000 Kenyans with access to safe water. Now this partnership really would see those 10,000 Kenyans get access to these services under improved water, which therefore expounds on the general conversation that we're trying to have now on how tech can help close this gap between the non-access of improved water services to basically nothing. And to help us then further this conversation at this particular hour, we're joined by Akin Gazinli, who is the Chief Marketing Officer, ASELEC. Akin, good. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, Simbo. Nice to see you. I hope everything is well on your side as well. I'm very good and excited to be here today.
We are also excited to have you around. Just so that we lay this conversation into proper perspective, for those of us who are getting introduced officially to BECO and ASELEC, could you make us understand who BECO is and who ASELEC is just before we get into this conversation?
Yes, sure. ASELEC is a group of companies and that is active mainly in the home appliances business. BECO is our global brand. We are the leading company in Europe, but we have also a very strong brand in Africa, which is DeFi, market leading company in South Africa. And we have 12 other brands that are active everywhere in the world, but yes, our passion is for sustainability. So that's how everything started with our story you have mentioned in the beginning.
Fantastic. So upon the news of this particular partnership with water.org, it says that you want to help provide 10,000 Kenyans with access to safe water. Could you put into perspective these numbers that we're seeing here? That 15% of Kenyans rely on an improved water sources such as ponds, shallow wells and rivers, while 41% of Kenyans do lack basic sanitation. But then you're saying tech can help reduce this gap or completely eliminate it. Could you put that into proper perspective?
Yes, sure, Simba. Well, what's important is, as I said, our passion is for sustainability, and we are for the third year consecutive industry leader in Dow Jones Sustainability Index when it comes to sustainability. So how we became leader, of course, is by having productions that are sustainable, having products that are environment friendly. But normally most of the companies will stop there and say, okay, we did enough, so let's do other things. But we think that the social perspective, the social aspect of sustainability is very important. And here we thought for partnerships that can help us to help on a social way. So, and here we came to Kenya, where we said it's unacceptable to talk about water efficiency technologies without contributing to people's life that don't have even access to clean water, which is a basic human need. And we were in search of credible partners. Well, you have to understand, where everybody is talking nowadays about sustainability, it's very hard to find also credible partners. So Water.org put us a very credible plan, and the story and the numbers you have also mentioned in Kenya was very, very important to us, and we thought, okay, let's go in it and see how we can help and support the local communities over there with a project that is credible and that is also measurable.
Yes, but I like when you ended at measurable. There's a specific number that's been attached to this, Akin. It is 10,000 Kenyans. Could you talk to us about that particular number? Because when you say that 41% of Kenyans then may lack basic sanitation facilities, and that 15% of them then would actually use an improved water sources, and then 10,000 is attached to it, you will say, you're just scratching the surface, but somebody want to ask you the long-term goal of this project. Is it to expand it beyond the 10,000?
Yes, very good question. Well, first of all, as I said, the social partnership is something new to us in Africa. We want to be sure that every cent we are investing together with our partners are going really to the people who are in need for basic water. So there is, of course, a period where we have to see and measure how it is. And Waterog again put us a plan, a quarterly plan, where we can review this, because you know much better than me. There has been dozens of companies around who did this for PR purposes, and we are really sincere when it comes to sustainability, and we want really to start very credible in this and see how it goes to make impact. Of course, a company alone with NGO is not enough. We have to work together with the governments, with the local bodies, with NGOs, and also with other companies to increase the impact of this program. And I believe we are at a very good start with this project.
Mm-hmm. So let's go into the details of this particular project, Akin. And under here, I can see that the program also is essentially going to promote the community in terms of coming up with learning materials and activities to empower communities with affordable access to loans, so they can install walls, water storage tanks, filters, rainwater harvesting systems, and sanitation solutions. Talk to me about that. Do you see this program as being more of community driven as opposed to you going down here to give them your own solutions?
Yes. As I mentioned, there is also a partner who is contributing to this, which is Amphi in Kenya.
Yes.
Who are, they are specialized in microfinance. Well, as I mentioned, with the contribution with it, we wanted to increase the impact at the maximum. And how more you can increase the impact by working with financial institutes that give provides microfinances to the people with a much higher sum than our contribution, so that more people have access to this credit to improve their sanitations, to have their water storages, and also better pipings to have access to cleaner water. That's how we understand in the beginning phase to increase the impact of this project.
Pretty much. Akin, somebody looking at Beko, I mean, if you're getting introduced to, you will say, well, are they getting into a new market? But the reality is that no, they have been in Kenya for the last 10 years, and that's just a long period for a company that really wants to change the way in which you use tech for these solutions. What sort of head start does this 10-year period in the country give you in understanding what the market really needs in terms of these solutions?
Yes. So actually, the social project is not the first we did. For Africa, we want to really improve the lives in a sustainable way. We did a refrigerator which is driven by the solar energy. We started this in South Africa. It is promoted in some countries, but we will be also bringing these technologies to Kenya. It's not about water, it's also about electricity. So as you said, we are a market leader in many countries in Europe. In Kenya, we don't have this aggressive strategy, but what we believe is first, on a social level, that how we can improve the lives and then also see how the business grows. But first of all, it is important that we contributing in the social impact in this wonderful project. We are cooperating with water.org.
Yes. But when you look at some of these social projects that you've done elsewhere, Ken, would you say that it gives you confidence that this is something that is likely or going to take off in the way that you have projected it?
Yes, of course. So we are very experienced in this. For example, it's not about energy and water. We have also with our brand Grundig, a project that is really attacking the issue of food waste, because we know that in many countries that food waste is an issue, the access to food and the dimension how people are wasting food was an issue for us. So we started in 13 different cities, refectorios with one of the best chefs in the world, which is Massimo Bottura. And this is a wonderful project. It collects the food in the supermarkets that are still edible, but was not selected by the people because they look ugly, yes. Bringing to refectorios, and world-class chefs are teaching scholars from the neighborhoods of this poor neighborhood to be as chefs. And the food cooked there during the lunch, people can pay it, and during the evening, the people in need will have like a Michelin star food in this project. So it's wonderful how actually, if you just coordinate industries with the NGOs, how the impact can increase. And we are very proud to have started such a project. And this gives us also self-confidence for other social projects. But as I said, we will start by a small project and see if it goes, if really the people who needs this contribution are benefiting from it, then we will go definitely for bigger.
Akin, I know you've met this in every market that you've gone to in sub-Saharan Africa, is that cost is usually a big factor in the adoption of any technology that you bring into the market. Talk to me, for such an ambitious project like this, I know cost is a big factor in the introduction of this, or you eventually, when you're looking at some of these solutions, cost is the defining factor. Talk to me about how you intend to talk about tech in a very special area like this one, access to water and sanitation services, when cost is a big factor that determines the adoption.
Yeah, that's basically a part of our life, especially during the current economic conditions where the costs increase for energy everywhere in the world, or the logistic everywhere. It's a part of our lives everywhere. We do operations in every continent. So that's, of course, an important area, but it shouldn't hold the companies away from contributing to the social projects everywhere, because we are, with our CEO, we are attending to every COP climate congress that UN is leading. And there, the people have one specific ask from the companies and from the governments, which is stop talking about it, please act. And we take this responsibility and just don't want to talk anymore, but act. But that's what we do since the last 5-6 years. And I hope all the companies and governments follow this path and start acting about the climate crisis the world is facing.
Yes, but let me just ask you personally then about some of the solutions that you gave at Asalink before then we continue with this conversation, Akin. But